Dear students, a very good afternoon to all of you. So last time we were reading a very profound and dark poem written by a famous poet named Robert Frost. And in the midway, when I was about to finish the last stanza, which is one of the most celebrated stanzas in the history of English poetry, right at that time I got a call from Principal Sir and I had to stop the recording abruptly. You know I'm a forgetful person and I forgot about a meeting that was scheduled by Sir, and at the same time I had another class, class 9. So I had to leave the whole thing, the whole explanation abruptly, and right now I'm here to make it up. Okay. So last time we were reading about a poem that was very profound in thought, stopping by woods on a snowy evening. There was a poet. He once, in a dreary midnight, when it was beating cold outside, right at that time he decided to visit the middle of woods that was already covered with snow. There was not a trace of life there in the wood. It was all covered up with snow. It was buried under snow. And right then he stood. The horse that carried him to there was even thinking it queer, strange, that this is the first time my master is going to stand here, so far away from the hubbub of civilization, from the din of civilization. It is miles away from the usual course of human civilization. What made my master stand here in such a night, that also alone, without being accompanied by another Homo sapiens human being? There must be something wrong which is going on inside my master. I need to awake him from that nightmare, from that profound thought, from that reverie where he is absorbed in. So in order to do so, the horse, it tinkled its harness bells in order to take his master back to the reality. Yes, it was the poet who heard it. One part of his conscious mind was aware and alert with the reality. Another part was so absorbed in nature, it became so sensitive that it could even sense, it could even feel and hear, especially the term he used, hear. It was audible to him, the fall of the snowflakes on the leaves and on the ground. We can say that this is utterly impossible for most of the people. But a poet like him, who is so absorbed in nature and all natural phenomena, he was so sensitive to nature, which is why he is called a sensuous poet. He could feel it, he could hear it. He could hear the little snowflakes fall on the trees, on the leaves, on the ground. This is his one part of his consciousness. Another part could also feel the clinking sound of the harness bells that was initiated by the horse. So even an animal could sense that the poet is in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the poet could not feel it. He was confounded, puzzled, baffled, thwarted. And he could not judge what he should do. Then he discovered that he was standing in the middle of a place. I mean, on one side there was woods, dark and deep woods, and on the other side there was frozen lake. A lake, water, which is a symbol of life, was frozen. It is death. It symbolizes death. So on one side there was frozen water, a lake. On the other side there was dark and deep woods that also covered with snow. And in the middle the poet was standing. He was in indecisive mood. He could not decide what to do. Here it occurs to the poet that woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to me. So now it occurs in the poet's mind that I have some affinity towards something, towards aestheticism, towards especially afterlife. I'm too much attracted to it, I'm obsessed with it. I want to test the afterlife. But if I take myself away from this world, from the world which is bound by time and actions, if I keep myself away from it, and all of a sudden if I do it, then all those persons to whom I made certain promises, and those persons who are waiting for the promises to be kept by me, what will happen to them? So it is his moral and social duty. Though he was away from the society, in the middle of the wood, he left the company of human being and all the thing which we call civilized and society. He left that thing behind him. He was only accompanied by a horse. That was the only living being there. All other thing which was there present was covered up with snow. There was no trace of life that could be discernible, that could be sensed in that particular night, in that particular place. Only two things were there who were alive. That was the poet and the horse. What could be heard right at that time except the thing which is barely audible, that is the fall of snowflakes on the leaves and on the grounds? What else was there that could be heard? That was the sound of the bells, harness bells, and the sound of easy wind that was blowing. It was winter. It was wintry season. Beating cold was there outside, and it was darkest evening of the year. Remember the phrase, darkest evening of the year. Snow was falling and there was overcast. Sky was overcast, so it was darkest evening of the year. That was also beating cold. But how on earth can a person decide to visit in the middle of the wood in such a dreary night? There must have been something going on inside the character, inside the poetic persona, that forced him to go there. That's why he left the human company where he should keep himself stuck. He left it, he shook it off, and then he visited the woods, which was completely deserted. Only companion was not a human being but an animal, that was horse. There was no trace of life there except the poet and the horse. Even lake where you can find several organisms, that lake was also frozen. Its surface was frozen. You could even walk over it. So now it occurs to the poet that if I all of a sudden abruptly leave the company of human beings, society, then it will be so much injustice to me. It is not I who am alone here living in this world. With me there are some other persons who are expecting something from us. My society is expecting something back. I have grown up in this society. It is a society that helped me to grow up, to think, to even think, to leave the society that helped me to grow up. So I have certain duties, certain responsibilities. I have something to give it back to the society which I was endowed with. There must be a purpose of my life that I am alive still now. I can't cut it abruptly. So it is not in my hand, nor should it be in my hand, to decide when to leave this earth and set on a journey to the afterworld. Because I was not born alone with my wish. So it should not be my wish to stop living, to stop staying alive. That sense was echoing in the poet's deep cavern of his heart, that you can't do it. There are persons who are waiting for you. You have made certain promises to them. And now it is time that you keep that promises. Only then, once your job is done, once the role in this universe, which is a stage, as said by Shakespeare himself. You have to perform your role here, whichever the role you have been provided with. You have to perform it and complete it, and then there will be the curtain will fall. These are the curtains, our eyes, the eyelids, they will fall, and you will be awakened in another world, that is afterworld. And only then all your thirst to know what is there in the afterworld, what is waiting for you in the afterworld, will be quenched. So with this thought in mind, the poet decides to come back. I have miles to go before I sleep. I have miles to go before I sleep. Sleep here denotes eternal sleep, that is death. So before I die, I need to go a lot. Means I need to perform certain duties which I am endowed, which I am entitled with. This should be kept in your mind too. When you find yourself at the pit of your confidence, at the pit of your hope, that there is only one way out, that is to be aware about yourself, your position on earth, the reason that you are alive still now, that you have to think. That there must be certain thing that I can do, I am able to do, and I have been selected to do it. So you need to wait for that opportunity. Without which, you are just a walking stone. It is our wishes, anger, despair, hope, love, friendship, all the feelings that makes us a human being. If we were anxious, if we were feeling that what will happen after that, remember that this means you are alive. It is anxiety that keeps you going, that keeps yourself alive. If you have not been anxious, you would just walk across the street without watching whether the cars are coming or not. Still the anxiety is there. Still there are so many things to do. You are alive and you are walking. So, it's a beautiful poem it is. And I have told you earlier about the poet, his habit of written poetry, his themes, and especially his style of writing poetry. I have told you earlier in the previous class, it was thoroughly discussed. In the previous class also I was in a down. My mood was not as jubilant as I am today. There are certain things that makes us down, that push us to the pit of our confidence. But it is I, it is we actually, it is all human beings, all living organisms. They have a resilient power to fight back. And that power is actually keeping them alive. So you need to propitiate that power within yourself and kindle it. First you have to propitiate what is making you down, then kindle what is actually driving you. So propitiate, try to appease the thing that is actually pulling you towards pessimism, and kindle those things which are pushing you towards optimism. That is the, I should say, masala of life. Once you are offered lemon, you need to make it a lemonade. It depends on you how you will make it. Thank you very much, students. That's all for today. Ta-ta.